Did you grow up with a distant, critical, or emotionally unavailable father? If you have ever struggled with trust, rejection, or never feeling good enough, this could be rooted in your fatherhood. Let's talk about how an absent, emotionally cold, or unpredictable father shapes your nervous system and adult relationships without you even realizing it. Your father's presence or absence shape the way you show up in the world. What is your biggest struggles? All trace back to the father wound. The father wound deeply influences how we navigate our external world, the aspects of ourselves connected to action, discipline, achievement, authority, and self-reliance. It reflects on our career, finances, sense of authority, and the overall relationship with the masculine energy both within and outside of us. Unlike the mother wound, which often impacts our internal sense of self-worth and emotional security, the father wound is more tied to how we show up in the world, our confidence, ambition, boundaries, and ability to take action. When the father wound is present, it can create challenges with self-confidence, personal responsibility, and trusting our ability to create and navigate the world outside of us, affecting our head-centered experiences. As we discussed in the previous episode on the mother wound, our parents represent the dual energies we encounter from the moment we enter this world, and their presence shapes how we relate to these opposing forces and influences our sense of self as well as how we navigate and function in the world. In today's video, we will look at how the father wound is impacting our lives at work, career, personal responsibility, and in relationship. My name is Vina Raji and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am a certified trauma healing practitioner specializing in deep trauma healing through science-backed alternative healing modalities combined with holistic approaches, creating a scientifically backed, energetically potent, deeply healing experience. And I now do offer one-on-one private healing sessions for those who are ready to do the deep inner work and trauma healing. And if you are interested, all the details are available in the video below, so feel free to reach out and I would love to connect with you. The three major aspects of our life consist of our finances, our relationships, and ourselves. Now, your relationship with money starts with the father, not the mother, and that is because your father is often the first representation of protection and provision. If he was financially irresponsible, controlling, absent, or being overly critical about matters related to finances like being stingy, calculating, or rigid, you may struggle with financial insecurity, fear of independence, or self-sabotage when it comes to money. And this happens because the concept of money was seen through the lens of scarcity, limitations, or evil, especially for many raised in lower or middle income families. Wealth is often framed as corrupt, unattainable, reinforcing the belief that money is scarce, difficult to earn, or even evil. And these early narratives shape your subconscious programming, creating a limiting belief around money. Can you already see the connection between your upbringing and your current relationship with money? Now, let me ask you this. How do you feel about money? And I want you to ask this to yourself. Do I believe money is hard to earn? Do I instinctively say that's too expensive or we can't afford that? Do I feel guilt or fear around spending or receiving money? Your subconscious belief about money was shaped long before you even realized it, most likely by your parents, particularly your father. And the way he viewed earned, managed money set the foundation for how you relate to financial stability, success, and even self-worth today. So if money always felt like a struggle in your household, you may have inherited an underlying scarcity mindset. And if wealth was a source of control or power, you might subconsciously fear financial independence. However, I also want to highlight the way you experience money isn't just about childhood conditioning, it often runs much deeper, woven into your ancestral lineage. And in many cultures, financial stability, wealth, and provision have historically been the responsibility of the paternal lineage, making money wounds an inherited karmic imprint passed down through generations. To understand a little bit about financial trauma in your family, now there are a few ways that you can look into this. You want to check, did your father or maybe his father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather experience financial hardship? Did they incur debt or any instability? Were there sudden losses, bankruptcies, or maybe business failure? Was money used as a form of control or dominance in your lineage? Did your ancestors experience war, displacement, or poverty that created financial trauma? Now, this is something that I know many ancestors have experienced before, and how those financial trauma was actually impacting them. And this is something that I noticed with my family as well. And it was a powerful revelation that allowed me to view their challenges through a compassionate lens. So here's the thing. These ancestral money wounds don't just disappear. They get imprinted in your subconscious financial blueprint, influencing how you earn, save, and spend money today. And you might find yourself repeating the same struggles, feeling stuck in cycles of lack, or even sabotaging financial success without realizing why. Now, recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free from inherited financial blocks and creating a wealthier or healthier, more abundant relationship with money. Now, let's talk about how the father wound shapes our relationships, especially our romantic relationships in our adulthood. Now, in many cultures, especially Asian households, physical affection between parents is rare. While this isn't necessarily bad or traumatic, it sets the blueprint for how love is perceived and expressed in relationships. Now, if you grew up in a household where affection was absent between parents, expressing love through touch, words, or actions may feel awkward and unnatural. And this is a learned behavior that affects both romantic relationships and communication styles, leading to difficulty in showing or receiving love openly. And it's quite common that many adult children from such households do struggle with emotional vulnerability, often equating love with a sense of duty, sacrifice, or silent endurance rather than warmth and emotional connection. We also want to understand how the father can impact the mother's role in a family system. Now, when a father figure is strict, authoritative, or emotionally rigid, it often affects the mother's ability to nurture freely. So if she was controlled or restricted by her spouse, she may have struggled to form an emotionally safe, affectionate bond with her children. Now, when a father is strict, authoritarian, emotionally detached, or controlling, it doesn't just affect the child. It also shapes the mother's ability to nurture. And in many cultures, once a woman is married, her well-being and emotional security becomes solely the responsibility of her husband. So if she lacks emotional safety, support, or affection in the marriage, she may become emotionally burdened herself. And the very person she relies on for provision and protection does not meet her emotional needs, leaving her in survival mode. Now, this emotional depletion impacts how she connects with her children. Now, she may struggle to be affectionate, emotionally attuned, or nurturing in the way the child needs. The result? A child who equates love with performance, obedience, or perfectionism rather than unconditional warmth. And they may learn to earn love through achievements, people-pleasing, rather than feeling inherently worthy. This often leads to hyper-independence, approval-seeking, or difficulty expressing their own needs in adulthood. Now, these patterns directly impact your relationship in adulthood. because your subconscious attachment patterns often mirror your earliest experiences with your father. If he was emotionally distant, you may attract emotionally unavailable partners or struggle with emotional intimacy. If he was controlling or rigid, you may feel suffocated in relationships or rebel against authority. Now, this is something that we see, a pattern that we notice a lot in modern day dating, the fear of commitment, not wanting to commit, and there's a reason for that. If you had an absent father or he was unreliable, you may develop hyper independence or a deep need for validation from masculine figure, and this is especially true for a lot of women and explains why women are drawn to toxic masculine men who are emotionally unavailable. These external behaviors, who we date, how we communicate, how we set boundaries, are easier to observe and adjust, but the inner emotional landscape is more complex because it's shaped by layers of subconscious programming. We also want to understand how the fatherhood shapes your sense of self and how you show up in the world. Now, our father is often our first model of authority, protection, and self-worth. Whether he was present, absent, critical, or emotionally unavailable, this deeply influences how we see ourselves. So if your father was harsh, critical, or emotionally distant, you may internalize his disapproval, leading to chronic self-doubt and a loud inner critic. Now, you may feel like you are never good enough. Therefore, you are constantly striving for external validation to prove your worth by overworking, overperforming. You achieve success, but you still feel empty because your self-worth is tied to performance rather than inherent value that is aligned with who you are. Now, many adult children with overbearing father struggle with imposter syndrome and fear of being judged. You may feel like you are never truly enough, no matter how much you accomplish. Even when you succeed, you fear being exposed as incompetent or unworthy of your success. And you tend to downplay your achievements or over-prepare out of fear that others might just see through you. Now, this also impacts your ability to trust yourself and your decision-making ability, because a father who was controlling, dismissive, or unpredictable can make you doubt your own judgment. You may struggle to trust your instincts, always second-guessing yourself or seeking external approval before making decisions. You overthink small choices or feel paralyzed by fear of failure because you were never encouraged to trust yourself. So if your father was overbearing, you may resist asserting yourself, fearing conflict or rejection. If he was absent or passive, you may struggle to tap into your inner strength, feeling unsupported or unprotected. You either shrink yourself to avoid confrontation or overcompensate by becoming overly aggressive to prove your strength. The fatherhood manifests so differently in both men and women, shaping their relationships, their self-worth, and how they navigate the world. Now, for example, for a man, he would often struggle with his self-worth, difficulty expressing vulnerability because there is no emotional connection, and he tends to overcompensate through overworking. He becomes a workaholic, hyper-independent, or mirroring the absent, distant father. And for women, they tend to seek validation through their relationships, attracting emotionally unavailable partners, difficulty with boundaries, or a deep fear of abandonment. Fathers play a crucial role in helping children develop emotional security and build self-confidence and authority. So if he dismisses your feelings, you may struggle to self-soothe or feel unsafe expressing emotions. A father who never affirmed your strengths may leave you feeling directionless or unsure of who you are in this world. You may struggle with imposter syndrome, doubting whether you are truly capable or deserving of success in the world. Now, take a moment to reflect. Where in your life do you feel unseen, unworthy, or like you have to prove yourself? These patterns didn't start with you, but they can end with you. Healing the fatherhood isn't about blame, it's about reclaiming your worth, rewriting your story, and knowing that you are enough just as you are. If this resonates with you and you are ready to dive deeper, I offer one-on-one healing sessions to help you process and release these wounds at a cellular level. So feel free to connect with me or book a session, and I'd love to support you on your healing journey. Thank you so much, and I will see you again in my next video.